Hey everybody, it's your best pal and bosom buddy Drew, and I am redoing a video I done about a year ago where I did a vertical video and it kind of sucked, but this is pure horizontal. I know, being silly. Well, I am going to judge my preference for what the top 10 what if issues there have been in the first series from 1977 to 1983. And I bought this from the very beginning. I mean, I just loved it. There was no talk of the multiverse back then. I mean, that was not. In fact, the What If second series that came out in the 90s, they really didn't say a whole lot about the multiverse, but now they're integrating it more and more. So, it makes certain things more exciting. And see my notes. By the way, I do reuse Post-it notes as long as I can, because I'm not going to, ruin the rainforest on my goofy, my silly episodes. Well, I'm going to start with number 10, which is, what if the Hulk went berserk? Peter Gillis, he wrote What If for a long time. I don't know if he did any non-What If books until the second series of the Micronauts, when Kelly Jones was doing the art. It lasted about 20 issues. But I love this one. It's have to look at it through the lens of the early 80s. We've seen a lot of stuff in comics. We've seen dismemberment. We've seen, people get their heads ripped off. You're seeing, people... you've just seen a lot of absurd stuff too. Like there was a list on one of those comic sites that said the top 10 characters that could take down Galactus, and I'm like, that's kind of trivializing this brilliant character from Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. I just thought, no, there really shouldn't be. Maybe one, but it's just for shock value. What if the Hulk went berserk? Ron Wilson, who gets mixed results sometimes, and he's dependent on the right inker, and these inkers here, Brian, I'm trying to think of the name. I think it's Ian Aiken and Brian Garvey. They're a team, and I've always wanted. I should interview them sometime, because I've never known who did what. But all I know is they add a lot of. They sort of have that hard contrast look that Michael Golden did, and then later on became popularized with the Gaijin Studio guys in the 90s. Although they don't get recognition for it. And I've read a lot of Hulk books up till there, but this was like the most interesting looking one. That's all, like that shading on the face, that's all those guys. Very Michael Golden. Very much so, with that rendering. And hey, can't have enough of that. I'm not saying they're as good. I'm just saying the inspiration is there. Right? Wilson probably drew that. But see how these go. Sort of the way to call these lines is orderly. It's like when you ink, it's like a picket fence. You have to keep going, and it works most of the time. So, yeah, see, have you ever seen a Ron Wilson book look this ferocious? It really does. And Peter Gillis is just kicking ass on the story. Well, there is a psychic bond between the Hulk and Rick Jones. That's the one thing that changes. And they're trying to get information on it, Rick Jones. And it stings, and the Hulk feels it. It stings, it hurts. It also has a precedent in Hulk number 3 from 1962, where they were trying everything to make the Hulk sell, and then one time the Hulk thought he was going to destroy. Rick thought the Hulk was going to destroy him, and then all of a sudden the Hulk stopped, and he tested the Hulk, made him lift his arm, just follow his motions. Excuse me. My sinuses, I never tire of them. Anyway, what's funny? So many people in comics who love. Okay, let's get to this first. Oh man, that's so glorious, and I like the coloring too. You know, I don't know if he's that big, but you know, we'll let that go. What's great about this too is there is a, you may not see it, you may not, it's a striped zipatone except for the eyeballs or the highlight on the eyeball. Just gives the situation a lot of gravity. If this is inked by, you know, just a substandard inker, maybe an average inker would be okay, but it would still, it needs this. It's such a dark subject. So that's pretty friggin' cool. Ron Wilson, I don't know if he still is, but he was a weightlifter, and he loved boxing, and he loved all that, you know, physical stuff. So that's where he got his knowledge of anatomy. Man, tell me that's not frightening. And this is, you know, 1983, I think, or 84. And now the one fault they have is on the faces. The faces, they could never get that right. That's so odd. But everything else is pretty nifty. So he's just totally going like, Rick dies, Hulk is, you know, pretty much inconsolable for good reasons. And the Thing, I like how the Thing's rendered here. It's very different. Like you see the gaps, you don't see the complete bricks. Although I prefer them that way. Hulk goes to kill Ross, and he goes to a nuclear bomb site, and Hulk wants death. And what happens is Hulk and Thing turn back to their normal selves, but Hulk turns back quicker, cracks the Thing's neck. See, that was the other thing about Gillis's books, was that he had, you know, final... he had characters killed and stuff like that because it was a what if. And it wasn't a gimmick to where they like kill somebody and then bring it back like 6 months later after all the speculation, you know, for the market. That's great. Thor brings down the lightning. So anyway, that's all. I don't want to spoil everything, even though I probably might have. And my number 9. Number 9. What if Spider-Man's Uncle Ben had lived? This is by the already established Spider-Man team of Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz, except I don't think DeFalco wrote this one, but those guys were like firing on all cylinders. They did a terrific annual, number 19, when J. Jonah Jameson gets married and the Scorpion wants to just wreck everything. So the inks on this are... is it Bud De La Rosa? Sam De La Rosa, Peter Gillis again. Approved by Danny Figueroa because he had no choice. He was the editor at the time. My hang-up is I think these inks are a little too beefy, or they're samey is what it is. You know, you're supposed to make the foreground characters a bit beefy in the contour lines. So here, Aunt May wakes up before Uncle Ben, and she dies. And he stays, and Flash is like being a dick, as he is prone to be, and Uncle Ben ain't having it. It's like, why do you keep at him? Because there's more to Peter than appears on the surface, and there's a lot less to you. Flash, you're a football star. Let me give you something to ponder. Football's a great thing, but what's below the surface? Try peeling out sometime and finding out. I was like, damn. So he's he's excited. He's getting support. So let me have something to ponder, because maybe being a vigilante is what upsets Mr. Jameson with Spider-Man. It isn't. He's like, what are you talking about? It's not. So he finds out that Pete is Spider-Man, but he's like, you did nothing. I was in the house. She went downstairs instead of me. I was asleep. The man shot my May and slept through it. I slept through it. Really good stuff. Really dramatic. And here we go. Jameson's been writing all this shit. here comes Uncle Ben and reveals that the star photographer is his nephew, Peter Parker. It's like that's a little too heavy. So he's like, shit, what can I do now? And he still has his schemes. Nice little 9-panel grid here. And so much goes on. Yeah, and it's got that Ditko profile. Here comes John Jameson, just as he did in issue 42 when he got some moon rock and became Super JJJ Jr. So that's pretty cool. Okay, now we're going on to, I gotta find, excuse me everybody. Oh, okay, here we go. 8. They've done these what ifs over again. They've done compilations that were just 2 thick volumes, I think, or 4 thick volumes instead of 7 or 8. And but the thing is, the printing is no better. And if it was a Marvel Masterwork, I'd think about it, but I'm not double dipping anymore. It's like it's just, it's a good way to go broke. So Dazzler and Iron Man. I can't believe there were 4 Dazzler Marvel Masterworks, but apparently there was a market for it because it sold. Then what if Iron Man had been trapped in King Arthur's time from issue 150? Stephen Grant, excellent writer. You know him mostly from the Punisher miniseries that made Punisher a big deal in the Marvel Universe. And he also did a graphic novel with Mike Zeck, again, called Return to Big Nothing. So Don Perlin, who was older but super talented, he still had all his mojo. Babyface Bob Layton is inking it. And what I really liked, one thing that's interesting about the Shooter era is, Bob Layton, he inked a little of everybody, and he drew, quite a few issues of Iron Man. And then let's just say John Byrne was doing Fantastic Four, and it's almost like Shooter allowed these guys who have a fan base to be almost territorial, to almost like there's a cover to She-Hulk number what is it? It was issue She-Hulk that had Iron Man on the cover. It was a crossover, and Bob Layton did that cover. So that was just really cool. Really, really cool. Okay, running out of room here. Okay, number 7, the Korvac saga. Whoa, I'm jumping ahead. Still jumping ahead. Just hanging, everybody. What if the Avengers had become pawns of Korvac? This was also pretty groundbreaking because there weren't so many redundant cosmic entities. This is pretty much all of them. There's Odin, Grandmaster, Betweener, can't remember, Shaper of Worlds, Stranger, High Evolutionary, Galactus, Gardner, and the Tribunal. That's it, the Living Tribunal. So what happens is, after the Korvac sagas, most of you know, Korvac, a.k.a. Michael, became very godlike, if not a god himself. He killed all the Avengers, except for one of them. And it's a great story. But check this out. This book has a lot of characters and a lot of universe, and this stuff was not done back then. This is before Secret Wars, so you didn't have all these characters meeting as regularly as you do now. Kick-ass thing though, every character had a different inker. Some did too, like Captain America, Captain Marvel were Joseph Rubinstein, Iron Man's Bob Layton, a little of everything. Rick Magyar did the Universal Armada. So when you got Vince Colletta on the face there, because he draws real pretty features, like the blushy type face and stuff, and it's just, as a geek, I always wanted to be an inker. It's so absurd to admit that, but I saw the results of what a good inker could do versus a crappy inker. Now, Moondragon's done by Frank Miller, of all people, and Odin's done by Frank Giacoia, who's a little more bold. Frank Giacoia meet John Byrne on the inks, and the pencils are by Mark Grunwald, who is an artist and a writer, but he hasn't drawn a whole lot in his lifetime. He was mostly a writer, and Erisham, I think, was done by Rick Magyar, close personal friend. Listen to me. Well, Frank Miller, Joe Rubenstein, John Romita, and I don't remember who but I mean, it's so cool. It's cool if you're like an uber geek like me that digs this kind of stuff. Here is the meeting of the minds of the cosmic characters that have been established at this point. Lord's Chaos and Lord Order. And that was it. Now they just have too many. And it's a lot of redundancies. And like I said, nobody should take down Galactus. I mean, maybe combined might of the others. The combined might of these other guys could take him down, maybe. But the Avengers are in the thrall of Korvac. They got to take down Galactus. Really great stuff. Really, really great stuff. I'm about to show you the whole thing again. Okay, yeah, same book. What if Daredevil became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it was a backup, or another story, what if Ghost Rider were separated from Johnny Blaze? And this is, I think, before they wrapped up the original series where they were separated. You got to keep them separated. Whoa, hey now. I got to pause for station identification. Oop, sorry for the break there. Actually, this is kind of a weird coincidence. It was my cousin from Cleveland, Ohio. I hadn't talked to him in a while. And so we got to going for, an hour or two, as you do once in a while, catch up. And I remember buying this in Cleveland. His parents, Uncle Chuck and Aunt Flo, they lived in Wickliffe, actually, which is like a suburb near Cleveland. And I remember buying this off the newsstands, and it just blew me away. I was like, wow, Frank Miller. And let me see. It starts off with a really cool story by Michael Fleischer, who wrote Ghost Rider a lot. And again, this is the thing where people associated with these characters can do a lot of the what ifs. And you got Tom Sutton, who came in. He came and went with like the Ghost Rider. He did some other stories too. And I'm just a sucker for his stuff. I hated it when I was a kid, but you get narrow-minded, tastes. So we got some Daredevil, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., inked by Klaus Janson. However, this time it's co-plotted by Mike W. Barr and Frank Miller. I think that's their only collaboration ever. And Barr was a scripter and co-plotter. So, it tells the origin. And there's a helicarrier. After the accident, I think Tony Stark shows up. That's who it is. Yes, sir, Mr. Stark. So they put him in a sensory deprivation tank to help him adjust to his new. There's the old, trick you do two panels and one has somebody lighting up a cigarette or something else, or cigar. And it turns out that he's, they're really helping him realize his, best capabilities. Is that the right phrase? I don't know. But he's also a daredevil of a sort. He's just a total, not loose cannon. He's just really efficient and just really excels. And that's it. So, and he calls himself Daredevil because that's what the kids used to call him. Way back when, those rotten kids. Where can I put this? So much crap. Okay, now we're issue 5. Now this one, Marvel didn't have Conan at the time. They got it for a year or so, and they effed it up. Marvel was stupid. They did the Savage Avengers, which was the Avengers with Conan in it. Conan is a team player. Please. So, but this is a great issue. John Buscema, Ernie Chan. And this is a wonderful story. And Roy Thomas, who's doing all things Barbarian at the time. John Buscema inked by Ernie Chan. That's friggin' awesome. Friggin' awesome. I mean, the Watcher just looks so disturbed. You know, if you're a guy who, I got that now, and omnibus form, and the Twinkies. And of course, when you are a sword and sorcery guy, you're going to run into some sorcery shit. So, somehow at the Wednesday, July 13th, 1997, Crom, and he is in the modern age. Mother of Mitra. And they're like, hey, some guy's doing the naked but for the loincloth bit. Hey, he's drawing a sword. Get this. You sure that isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger? Looks more like Sly Stallone to me. It'll be okay. And Arnold, this is before Arnold, they even asked him to be in the movie. 1979 issue, the movie didn't come out till like 82, and they didn't spend 3 years in production, so that's just the coolest thing. So he's getting used to weirdness, you know, as best as he can. He knows he's in a place that is not his own. This woman, the sexy cab driver named what's her name? Dan. He named her after his second wife, and it's like D-A-N-N-E. And she sees, you know, that he's a lost person in a lost, land. And hey, what? And he hears metal dragons. Oh, they're cars. I guess you don't have them. And she's like, the city was a wonderful place if it just for a night with somebody helping everybody. It's the last time I recall that happening. She's talking about the blackout when she was 13 back in 65. And, yeah, okay, Danette. And Conan's dealing with some looters. Just call me Darth Vader. Bam. So great. And Ernie Chan's done a ton of Conan stuff too, like a solo and with Buscema and with other artists. And there's the Guggenheim Museum, which grabs Conan's attention because it's a very big building. Not fun to get tossed from, though. And I'm not going to tell you much more, but he does end up in his own. So, actually, should this be just an honorable mention? I'm not sure, but let me know what you think, because I think an experience like this, and I think he forgot some of it, I think it would be... here we go. Very last panel. It's not going to spoil anything. But he has the cap, and he has memory of it. So this is, I guess, an honorable mention. It's in canon. So I guess I, shot the gun too soon. So anyway, we'll go to more what ifs. What ifs are fine. Oh, okay. Honorable mentions. Brrr. So, let me see. Hang in there, everybody. There's some crappy issues in here. There's some good ones too. Come on, buddy. Okay, well, what happens is, if I can find it. Sorry, I'm not more prepared. What did I do? Wait a minute. Oh, issue 4 and 9. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Issue 9. Which is... come on, you. Why you... Thank you for your patience. Okay. This... I loved it. It's like, what if the Avengers were fought evil during the 50s, and you had an established Gorilla Man, what is his name? Robot Man. Both of them had like one-shot appearances in like like an early journey into mystery, like way before the Marvel age. Marvel Boy had his own book. Venus had her own book, and 3D Man was just created like the year or two prior to this issue, and I loved him. He's so cool. So it was all in the 50s, and it's done by Alan Kupperberg and Bill Black, and I think it's Kupperberg's best stuff. I mean, I've criticized him in the past for doing really wonky panels and poses that just didn't seem to work out, but he really stepped up his game. And you have Yellow Claw, his daughter Shashan, and there's Namora, the Sea Woman, not Namorita. And there's Love. Bill Black went on to do Americomics for, decades. And I don't know if he still does it or not. So you can't have an Avengers without, people fighting. Infighting. So, just really great stuff. But that's why I'm asking you to disband the Avengers while I take measures to cover up the fact that you existed. These are suspicious times, my friends. People find communists under their beds and Martians in every weather balloon. A few simplistic souls even feel like comic books and anything resembling comic book characters, such as yourselves, are responsible for every social ill. What? That does not compute. So he's referring to the McCarthy hearings. So they retire, but in the 2001 miniseries called Avengers Forever, they made it canon. And let me see. What is this right? Is it Kirby that's next? I apologize. I'm just making a mess. But I've gone too far along. What number am I at? Am I at 5? Let's see. I made a big old mess of everything, huh? Didn't I? Okay, next one. Here's the next one. What if the Marvel Bullpen had become the Fantastic Four? Totally came out of left field. It was such an odd thing. So odd. I was with my cousin Sean. We went to Ides, which is a historic comic shop. They briefly had a North Hills store, and I think we got it there. Maybe I'm wrong. So you got Stan, you got Jack, you got I can't think of her name. Everybody loved her. And you got Saul Brodsky as a Torch. And Roy Thomas says it would have been better if he was the Torch, because he was the young kid with blonde hair. But this was the original Bullpen. So, there we go. Okay. Fabulous Flo Steinberg. And Kirby's writing in and drawing it, and it's tremendous fun. And what's interesting is, for so many years, Stan and Jack have had sort of a adversarial relationship for a variety of reasons. Mostly Kirby, because he felt he should have got more credit, more money, and everything like that. And Stan was a company man whose uncle owned Marvel, so it was a family business. And I'm not making excuses, but what's weird is that Kirby would actually do something like this, include Stan, and so there must have been some shred of still getting along here and there. They also did the Silver Surfer graphic novel 1977, and I have that. I'll have to show that sometime. But it's a lot of fun. The only thing he did different was didn't give him the big old brow on the thing. And then you get Submariner. What is this? Why is everyone so uptight when I get a chance to do my stuff? You always do it at the wrong time, that's why. Well, good fights don't grow on trees, and if this could have been a classic, if only you stay out of it. So, excellent. Okay, that's 5. Let's see. Oh, I got to get to issue 4 now. Another honorable mention, which is because it is canon. It most certainly is. Roy Thomas, he wrote like a speed demon, wrote tons of stuff, and he did What If the Invaders saved stay together after World War II. Look at the grace of those figures from Gil Kane. I think that's Giacomo. Just, I love that pose. That's just really, the whole thing is magnificent. What they did was Roy Thomas, Frank Robbins, and Frank Springer, the usual team, they came up with what did happen after the original Captain Bucky, got on that plane and ended up, I love that thing. What if they end up frozen and, Bucky died. This is way before the Winter Soldiers, like, half a century. It's essentially what happened to the invaders after World War II, and being the comic book hardcore fan that Roy Thomas is, he was threading the time between the invaders and the All-Star Squad, All-Winners Squad. I'm sorry, wrong company. There's Truman. And then comes new Captain Bucky, but it is the Spirit of 76 who appeared like in 2 issues of 14 and 15. And this Bucky is the Bat Boy for the New York Yankees who switched costumes with uniforms with Bucky, the Fool of the Red Skull. So, just because it's comics. So you get a great splash like that. And here they come in. The Wizard and Miss America, who are starting to become romantic. And the weird thing, Frank Robbins, he's such an odd duck when it comes to superheroes. A lot of times he'll have superheroes like flitting into the room, like, tippy-toeing and flipping. So, okay, invaders, you won't be sorry. Okay, Axis, here we come. That was their trademark. Really cool stuff there. Really fun. But this is canon. This is canon. They got a telegram. That's it, Amber. He thanks us for us to stay together, but now the war's over, to help fight crime and black market boys. We never turned down a presidential request, and I vote we don't start now. Check. I too will stay, at least for the present, but our name, the Invaders, is obsolete now. I suggest a new one. The All-Winners Squad. It's not too euphonious, but I guess it'll do. That's one of those Roy Thomas, like, school teacher words. I have a pretty damn good vocabulary, but whatever. So they become the All-Winner Squad. And the Patriot shows up, who was also in earlier issues, and someone's trying to kill up and coming to be President Kennedy. And I'm not going to show you the end, but it's canon, so it doesn't count. Okay, now here comes a tough one. La 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 la. What if Doctor Doom had become a hero? This actually got reprinted recently in one of those Marvel True Believers comics, and I don't know if it had to do with tying in with the Doctor Doom or whatever, but those recreations that Marvel's doing, the reprints, just single issues, are just fantastic. They're so great. And this became one. What if Doctor Doom became a hero? And the art is by Fred Kita, who actually was a comics artist for years and years already. Dave Simons was a fairly new guy, and he was so good right out of the gate. Don Glut is a writer friend of Roy Thomas, who also wrote actual prose novels also. And I think, wow, pretty spiffy. And Dr. Doom is just so cool. You can't just, he's just the coolest. Name anybody in comicdom, and he's the best. The thing that changes is, instead of Von Doom kicking Reed Richards out for saying some of the numbers were wrong, he pauses. Wow, I love that face. He considers Reed Richards' observation, and at that moment, the world diverges from the one we know. And, you say that you have examined my equations and they're in error. And he goes, well, let's make sure. And they shake hands. So it was just a little, and that's the thing, though. It's like if you get a choice between one thing or another, split second, you don't always know what you're going to do. You know what you think you're going to do. So he creates this gadget, and he can go into the ether world, some other dimension, other nether world, and it turns out that he contacted his mother. He goes, and once I have been accomplished, I shall claim my rightful Varian throne and become the leader, benefactor, and champion of my people. So this swears Dr. Von Doom. Well, he learns a little of everything. That's costume there. Now look at the art. Woo! It is a magnificent issue. And it's also different because you didn't see Fred Kita drawing a lot of stuff. He did, one thing I remember, pardon me, is he did two issues of Captain America, I think before John Byrne and Roger Stern took over. And he's solid, but I don't know if he was like near retirement or something. But Rudolfo, the one who took over back in the late Fantastic Four, right before issue 200, he got corrupted by the power. Now Doom's the man, and he's got Valeria, the woman he's been craving all his life, and now he's just like this really great. So tell me, young knight, is this high enough? Would you like to ride through the sky someday? Not today. And they drive away, but wow, what a great transition. What a nightmare. He's like, what have you done to Valeria in my country? And here comes Mephisto. And, Doom's got his magic abilities too. So, he gives him a choice. But I'm not going to tell you because I ain't spoiling nothing. So, okay, our last two. I remember buying this, and it was another one of those like rare Gil Kane interior books for superheroes. Anyway, he did stuff. He did John Carter of Mars, and he did some other stuff. But I don't know how big he was on superheroes. He did a lot of covers, but still, Joe Sinnott inking. My only hang-up is, that they cropped this and tilted it, but, someday, they even have an omnibus of it, but I just don't feel like spending more money. I already had this, like, 2 formats. Jim Shooter, new guy on the block. Is Archie Goodwin still the editor-in-chief? Jim Shooter started off magnificently. He was fantastic. And then, he got to run in Marvel and couldn't really do much. Then he came back and did the Avengers with Bob Hall, and it was awful. It was shit beyond measure. That's where Yellow Jacket slapped his wife, Jan. And but let's focus on the positive. This is after issue 2. I don't need you. I'm still a Hulk, which was really groundbreaking in 1963. That second issue, one of the team leaves the book. So, and Klaus Janson on the inks. Ugh. I tell you, if Klaus Janson paid me a nickel for every time I say his name, I'd be very, very rich, and I would probably piss it away on comic books. And I love that little thing there. It was a little, I don't know, that was like a Ditko thing. And they're ready to go after the Hulk. He's like, hold it, guys, wait a minute. Are you crazy, giant man? We've got to go after the Hulk. Unhand to me, mortal. Calm down, think about it. It's strictly volunteer. We can't make him go. We got to find the Hulk. And he goes, giant man's words ring true, so say Thor. None of us are bound by oath. That is such a friggin' kick-ass angle. I never figured it was that necessary. I guess they're trying to drive it as you plan to leave too. Go ahead, Longhair. I've had enough of your superior complex anyway. Stay your bitterness. See ya. Well, there's the Avengers left. Over. Love that neck there, and I love her pose. So, takes off. He's like, shit got effed up. So he decides he's going to take on the Hulk himself. And gets his ass handed to him. All the cracks. Really cool stuff. Love me some Zipatone. That vertical on that last panel there. Well, he creates iron suits for the rest of the team. So they come back. And they're adjusting, and he has no patience. So like, okay, I'll take him on myself. Wow. And this is back when Iron Man was kind of a wimp, at least in the comics, because he was always having heart problems. He was always taking on these low-level characters like Kraken and, just these really stupid characters that he could, like Raga, Son of Fire, and Firebrand and all that. So he's really jacked up. Great angle there, Submariner, last panel. Ends up stuck in the mud, and beautiful. And Submariner's like, just, I'm supreme here in the water. Thus I finished this charade. Where is he? But the rest of the Avengers decided to armor up and help out. That's all I'm going to show you for now. And the number one is What If number 1, which none of this would be possible. Love that cover. I look at the photo stats of the panels in the background. I always love that stuff. Conceived, written, edited by Roy Thomas. Jim Craig, he's a Canadian artist who did like a year and a half of Master of Kung Fu about this time, or maybe before. Pablo Marcos, longtime inker. This was like nothing else on the stands. There was no multiverse stuff talking. There was maybe a few other alternate Earths, but here's what we got. We got alternate Earth. We have an alternate future with Killraven fighting the Martians. We have Superman versus Spider-Man, the Treasury editions, and then there was another one where the let me see, the Axis Power won the war, and they decided to stop it. Then the Squadron Supreme had their own. It's the DC universe is what they were going at. Same here, but the Deathlock. When they back then in the mid 70s, they went to the far future of 1990. Yeah, I guess they didn't think these books would last that long. I don't know. They said, like, we want it in the future, but we don't want it to go too far because then people won't relate. I don't know. He wants to be a superhero. He wants to be a superstar. This is taken from Spider-Man number 1, which is his actual second appearance because the first one was Amazing Fantasy 15. He decides that'll be a breeze. Comes in. Who's fighting? Just consider this an exhibition. And he gets stopped and he goes, look, let's get down to business. How much does this job pay? I figure I'm worth your top salary. Now, here, this is great. First issue explanation. He goes, time stopped. One of your immortal poets, Robert Frost, has spoken beautifully of road not taken, a chance missed, a decision deferred. Each man faces such turning points in his life, but once perhaps. Not once, perhaps, but untold times. So, it's pretty interesting. I love the setup. So he goes to leave, and Sue Storm just says, wait, come back. And I'm like, you crazy, Sue? And I get to talking. Maybe we could afford him after all. I'm not greedy. He goes, and we can use some manpower. And he goes, sure, raw power, I got it. Blah, 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 blah. And he unmasks in front of the rest of the team, and they're just shocked. And there's old... it's so weird how they always draw her. They draw her like it's a skull, and they stretch like rubber foam over a skull. It's so bizarre. Oh, now we're the Fantastic Five. Here he comes. Jameson's usual overreacting self. And, Reed says he's been cleared. Everything's dropped. All charges are dropped. Oh, that's my buddy Spidey. And, being a dickhead opportunist. And the chameleon's like, blast, this changes my plans. They take on the Vulture, which is just like... it like takes as long as it takes to read this for to take them out. And... this whole layout on this page is really sensational. So they were going to go off to the moon to go fight the super apes and the red ghost. But Sue's pissed off because they had 4 seats. I joined if Spider-Man wasn't here anymore. So they go over a lot of this stuff. Sue, says a submariner. And I love that. I like panels that do that. They go that, and then later on, even though that's not on the same plane, it's a storytelling device that really works well. And you can actually read it. It's not confusing. Now, here's the thing. I was totally knocked out by all this, and good reason, but I didn't know that at least half of these panels were swiped from Jack Kirby's original issue, 14, I think it was. So, me growing up, I'm celebrating, this great storytelling, not realizing that it was my first time seeing it. And then when I finally saw issue 14, I'm like, hey, I know this stuff. So that is a very weird tangent, though. Shooting your web, and it looks like he went through one ear and out the other. So gotta watch out for that stuff. There's that puppet master. She leaves with Namor because, and what's weird is it makes sense because Reed, he's got all those test tubes and shit to study. He doesn't give her the time of day, and it shows that he's been very negligent, and she decides to go with him, and really cool stuff. So hope you enjoyed this. I've had a lot of fun. These are fun to read, and there was one issue I don't have, which is Master of Kung Fu, because they didn't get the rights until a little bit later, and they put it in later editions. But still some nice stuff. Oh. Spider-Man becomes a TV star. He stops the burglar, and Pat Broderick, good old Peter Gillis. Really, really good stuff. He becomes a superstar, and he's a show-off, and so much good stuff. That's it, everybody. I hope you like this. And good news is, like at the end of the year, Marvel's coming out with their second omnibus of What If Volume 2, and it goes from like issue 40 through 65 or something like that. And that stuff that's terrain I've never tread on, because there were like 105 issues, and I just didn't, the paper was ratty at the time, and I don't know, I read the first one, loved it. So but if you'd rather not spend that much, you can always contact me for a commission. I do pencil and ink commissions. I do lots of superhero stuff, and you can contact me on Facebook or on Twitter. And if you're not into that, I have 3 volumes of this series called The Demands. It's nothing to do with superheroes. It's about a very violent story with the Russian mob and an indie indie rock band that plays a lot of bars and clubs owned by the Russian mob. And our main character, Lainey Kilburn, she falls in love with the son of the head mobster. So, but it's a lot of cuss words, a lot of ugliness, there's a lot of gallows humor and stuff like that. But anyway, this is one of the longest ones I've done, because I'm practicing for the one with Valkyrie, where I'm going to go over her whole past over like a decade and a half or so. So anyway, hope you dug this, and I will see you later, everybody, and take good care of yourselves.